We're at Cardiff Racing to see how their plans are shaping up for this year in Formula Student with their car, the CR13. We're now going to have a word with Alec Cason about their new car for this year. Alec, which model are you now on? This is 13, isn't it?
This is CR13,
Yep.
So it's our 13th iteration. So this year we've gone with very similar designs we have done in the past years. We've got a aluminium honeycomb monocoque at the front and space frame at the rear. The design hasn't changed too much, but we have incorporated a few changes, I think, which will help us get a competitive edge this year.
There was a lot of good features in last year's car. I mean, you're going to carry over things like the lightweight nose cone and that crash structure?
Absolutely. So the nose cone is going to be the same this year. There are a few rule changes which we have to match up with. We have to make modifications to the car. But basically we're sticking with a very similar formula and making tweaks to it so that we can keep improving on previous years.
I mean, last year you ran Aero for the first time?
Yes, last year was our first Aero car.
And was that a success for you? Did that work, or do you want to maybe strip the car back again for this year?
We found our track handling was much improved, and so this year we're going with a, well, you could say even bigger Aero package and just try and get even more benefit from it.
I'm guessing with the Aero package means if you're going to be doing that, you're going to need more power. So you've got some quite exciting news in the back end of this car.
We do. We've gotten rid of the Aprilia. It served us very well, but I think its time came, and we're now moving to a Triumph Street Triple 675 engine. We expect a lot more power out of the engine, but I think crucially a lot more reliability as compared to with the Aprilia that we've had.
You're using the Street Triple engine rather than Daytona. Now, I know from riding one myself that what you do gain from that is a lot more torque, so it will pull from a lot lower RPM.
That's exactly why we chose a Street Triple engine. Because of the air restrictor due to the rules, revving to high RPMs causes the engine to starve. So most of our power comes from around 8,000 RPM, 8 to 9,000, and that's where we want the main torque to come from, and that's where the Street Triple is really in its element.
So really, from what we see here, fundamentally, the monocoque is very much moving on from last year with a few developments. Suspension is still very much the same kind of design.
Absolutely, yeah. The suspension design, again, as you say, because the front end of the car is very similar, it matches out, and similarly with the rear. You can see a few small changes to the monocoque. You can see there's a slight kick up at the front to help with aerodynamics, and also there's a few structural changes to the rear to just make the space frame packaging a lot more neater and to bring everything a lot more central into the car.
And time-wise, is everything hitting target at the moment?
We're pretty much on target. We're ahead of where we were expecting to be compared to last year. We hope to get a lot more testing in than we have previously. We're hoping for around 2 months of testing before the event, which will, I think, benefit us greatly.
That always comes in handy. Thank you very much, Alex. So we've already said there's a new engine for this year, and this has obviously brought a lot of challenges for the team. And we're now going to have a chat with Alex and Lee about what they've had to do to get this engine to fit into the back of their car. So what kind of challenges has been to produce this?
First and foremost is size. Obviously the engine is a lot larger and we have to incorporate that. But at the same time we have to keep this stiff and light, and the wider it gets the less stiff it is. So there's been a lot of challenges in making this suit the engine perfectly and be close but be efficiently designed for the other systems of the car as well.
I mean, obviously because of the width of the engine, I mean, you're gaining, what, 2 more cylinders width-wise, that's spreading the whole frame out, which is... So how much more have you got to add to the tubes to kind of get back the stiffness that you've maybe lost?
The actual dimension there is very similar to last year's size, because obviously like the cockpit has a certain size anyway, right? So we've just basically filled up the space better, effectively.
Yes.
And we've used smaller tubes where the rules allow us to use smaller tubes. So there's obviously like a certain thickness for this one, a certain thickness for this one, etc., etc. So we've gone to the rules where we obviously have to, and then where we're allowed to go smaller, we have.
And I'm hopeful that you're going to tell me this has all been designed in and it's all been calibrated that will take the load, and it's not just you going, oh, we think we'll put a tube in here, it'll be okay.
Yeah, there is a real design process to all of this.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's led us to the point now where we're 4 kilograms lighter than we were last year, despite being more stiff, even though we're incorporating the engine. So there really has been a lot of design thinking that's been put into this.
Now this engine is a fair bit more powerful than the old engine. So how much of that power increase influences the design of the space frame then?
Most of the time the loads are similar. I mean, a lot of that work will go into the drivetrain, but of course we have to account for that. So that's been included in the design. It's things that we estimate, have a safety factor for it, and then develop to suit.
And then the Aero will be also attached to this?
Yes. There's some small tabs we welded on to the top and the bottom. There's the wishbone tabs which aren't welded on yet.
Yes.
Also the differential tabs at the rear, which have been welded on to the back as well.
Okay.
So like all the differential. So like the diff is outside the cage, and then there's a jacking bar as well below that. There's a new exhaust system as well to go on. So it's not some work to do at the moment. Yeah.
And then some of the things you learned from last year, because you went through the Australian diff, I remember last time that you hung on the back of the old space frame.
Yes.
Are you carrying that over to this car?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. It's exciting because it's basically 30 more horsepower than last year. We're hoping that the final target weight is about 20 kilos more than last year, so we're going to save 10 kilos off last year's car. We're obviously sort of adding 30 because of the engine, but we've gained 30 horsepower. So, and obviously better aerodynamics as well. So we're hoping that the package overall is going to be pretty exciting.
And it's a real fine line, isn't it, between the power you produce and the weight of the car?
Obviously, like limited to the traction anyway of the tyres.
Yes.
So the actual drive sprockets have been calculated for that, at the correct speeds for acceleration. Like the engine has lost first gear, it starts in second gear. You know, so because of the power shifter unit that we use.
Yes.
It struggles to sort of find neutral basically, obviously
Yes.
because neutral is between 1 and 2 on a bike. So we've just dropped first gear and starting in second, and obviously like sort of calculate the sprockets accordingly.
Wonderful stuff. Thank you very much, guys.
You're welcome.
We're in the composites lab, and we're now going to have a chat with Max and Megan about what they're going to do this year on the car. You ran Aero for the first time last year. Was that a success or not?
Yeah, massively. Definitely increased our lap times. Decreased, sorry. And gave us a much more stable car at high speeds. Allowed us to, especially in Hungary, do a lot better than what we were anticipating.
Now, you've switched engines this year, so you're going to be having a lot more power. Is that going to present its own kind of problems for your Aero package?
In a sense, yeah. There's a few packaging issues, but ultimately the average speed around 1 lap of an endurance track is roughly the same, even with the extra 30 horsepower.
One of the things that is quite unique about Formula Student, and people won't really understand it, is what are the kind of the tracks like? Because are they quite tight and sinewy, or can people relate them to like a motor racing circuit that you normally come across?
If you were to compare it to Brands Hatch or something, it's completely different. Completely different. The track is ultimately just a bit wider than the car, and as a result, there's really tight chicanes, incredibly tight hairpins, which are actually governed as how tight they can be, because sometimes they do get ridiculously tight. Where the then electric teams with their torque vectoring manage to almost turn on the spot as a tank turn, but there are rules governing wheels turning backwards and so on. So
that means if you're running that slow, then the amount of downforce you're generating from this Aero package is quite significant then.
yes, and so our package is essentially optimized for those low speeds.
Yes.
So our lift-drag ratio is, well, it's very good. Personally, it's a huge improvement on last year's. And the sheer magnitude of downforce as well, which is much larger than last year.
And Megan, are you still basing the way you're making this Aero package this year the same as last year? Can you kind of take us through kind of what the layups are and what you're using to reinforce some of these Aeros?
Yeah, so similar to last year, we're doing carbon lay of different weaves, both 0 degrees and 45 degrees. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a couple layers of carbon down, and then we're going to put what's called Nomex. Now, Nomex is really good at doing force this way and having flexibility, so we're going to layer a bit of carbon, a bit of Nomex, and then put down a couple more layers of carbon like that. And then all of this goes into a vacuum chamber and is sealed, so it'll be all very tight, very neat in its layers.
And actually, I mean, you just demonstrated. You could actually, in the mold, you could like have it twisted and it all set into that position. So that's the advantage of the Nomex. It gives you that flexibility as well.
Yeah, so this is our smaller pieces that are going to be flat.
Yeah.
Our larger ones over there are going to be fitting onto big curved molds,
Yeah.
so they don't have to be completely flat.
And did you say that it's very important that when you've got one piece of carbon, then the second bit, that you've got to orientate them in different directions? That's for strength, is it?
Yeah, so that way you have a 0 degree weave and a 45 degree
Yeah,
weave.
and what would happen, say, if you had like 2 zeros in, you find that you'd end up with wing failure, stuff like this?
Nice.
Well, for the wings, we're actually all orientating everything at 0 degrees.
Yes.
Just to lay the strands against the cord.
Uh-huh.
So with the lay of the wing, span of the wing rather. That obviously means that under loading, it's a very simple load case. It's
Yes.
pretty much just, if you simplify it, it's just one point load in the centre of the wing.
Yeah.
So the best way to do that is to just rely on the insane tensile strength of carbon fibre and make it in that way.
And I mean, from last year's car to this year's, is there elements of last year's that you're keeping exactly the same, or are you changing the whole package?
So the actual shape of the elements is staying the same.
Uh-huh.
They were designed last year, they worked very well.
Yes.
We found them to be satisfactory, and so we've carried them on to this year. Essentially, it's just the way these elements are placed. So this year there is quite a few more elements in the Aero package, and as a result, a lot more downforce.
And from what I'm hearing, you're going to have the testing time to really put them through their paces.
That's the plan.
Thank you very much, guys.
No worries.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that's it from Cardiff Racing for this visit. We'll be back soon to see how the car's progressing. And if you want to see more of that, please subscribe to our YouTube channel.